So we now move to the second dimension. Is it an opportunity for a startup? First sub-question, how big is the cost of entry? How much does it cost to build and launch Adamos? Here are the main expected cost components: design and development of the website, marketing investment for putting this business into motion, hiring the startup team. Other operational costs can be neglected at the beginning. Experience suggests that launching and growing such an online business requires a few €100,000 as seed investment. That will go up to a few million later on to grow the business to the next stage. And this is mostly dedicated to marketing and promotional expenses to fund growth. This is standard, very easily accessible information that you can find through simple Google searches. What are the main risks? We can point out demand. How fast people will adopt that in Europe. It is probably the main risk factor. The rest of the operations seem not to be at risk. Customer will pay through credit card transactions, so you're sure to get the money. The product is established. There is no manufacturing key problem. Third sub-question of this second dimension, feasibility. What does it take to build the product, sell it, and distribute it? In the case of Adamos, it raises two very interesting questions. Supply at first. The jewelry market is very old and organized in a very unusual way. There is a limited number of jewel marketplaces where you can buy the stones and turn them into jewelry pieces. Adamos is not a retail place. They plan to sell unique design jewels, so they will have to buy stones. And in these marketplaces where you can buy the stone, people don't sign long agreements written by expensive lawyers. They just shake hands, and that seals the transaction. Sometimes millions of dollars of stones will go through that process. This means that it is an industry based on trust and recognition, two qualities that a newcomer can never demonstrate. So this means that Adamos must partner or recruit someone who belongs to this world and who can allow them to access to jewels. It can be a huge barrier if you have no idea where you can access such a profile. And this is part of the preliminary work that needs to be done before you decide to build such a business. Logistics is another tricky issue, not because of volume, of course, but because of the form factor of the delivery package. It's a small box with a high value, which is exactly the opposite of what established logistic organizations are used to dealing with. They are used to either small boxes with small value or big boxes with high value. And Adamos has the wrong mix. And this turned out to be a huge problem for Adamos because none of these logistic organizations actually wanted their business. It didn't matter to them, as Adamos' revenue potential was small anyhow, so they didn't care losing such a small prospect customer. And very unexpectedly, delivery became a big issue for Adamos because no one wanted to take care of it. Then Adamos had to find a workaround. And they decided to use standard postal services and betting on the fact that the average loss rate would be small. It might look like a huge bet to some of you, but it is also part of the life of a starting business. Sometimes you are facing huge issues that you can only resolve in an ugly way. And if you don't, the venture stops there. So there was an important decision to be made and assess whether or not, as a founder, you could cope with such a bet. In the case of Adamos, you probably could get it covered with a proper insurance contract. And last, what are the core skills for Adamos' team? Marketing and web marketing on one side, because the key is to quickly find customers in order to show it can work. Experience and recognition in the jewelry industry, as we discussed, for sourcing the stones on the other side. These would be the core ones, along, of course, with the standard entrepreneurial skills necessary for every startup. This is what the framework applied to Adamos would look like.